I don't know what I want to pick. Taliyah. Is Taliyah hard to play? Does Midbeans have a guide on Taliyah? Ultimate chat. This isn't even Midbeans.
Yo.
Oh, mother of who would what? Why would you ever start your YouTube video like that?
Yo. Boom. What up, guys? It's me, Odysseus or Odysseus, Odysseus.
Odysseus.
Well, however you want to pronounce it. People get mad at me sometimes, like, you don't even know how to pronounce your own name. Like, who cares? It's a name. People pronounce it differently wherever you're from. Stop crying. Suck my dick. Anyways, people have been asking me, yo, can you make a new Taliyah guide, new season drop, new items? I don't know what to build. She deals even less damage now. What is going on? Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm making a new guide, as you can see. For the people that don't know me, I am a challenger Taliyah OTP. I've been challenger for 5 years now. Too bad to hit rank 1 though, sadly, but surely one day. I main mid lane, but I've played her a million times in jungle, support, ADC, top lane, whatever it is. So wherever you main Taliyah, don't worry, I know enough about it. So yeah, make sure to watch the guide until the end or you'll end up like this.
You're reportable. I swear to God, man, it's not what it looks like. I'm not doing this on purpose. He's throwing. Wow! Oh my God! Whoops! Where did that go?
Yo, 30 months. Also hope you have a wonderful day.
Wait, what am I building? Shadow Flame maybe? Yeah, don't worry, my champ is from like the Stone Age. I'm throwing rocks.
A lot has changed in the new season. There are these things called grubs, there are different barons, new bushes. Mid lane is wide now, it's like big. But most importantly, the item changes. We had to say goodbye to Everfrost, Liandry's, the one that gives mana. Crown of the Shattered Queen, even though nobody built that item, may you rest in peace. But most importantly, Luden's Tempest. Ludens, I just want you to know that you were the best. You were beautiful, strong, kind, and I'll always love you. Ludens, I'll give it best. It's my most built mythic by far, I think. Ludens. Yeah, okay, I built this item the most by far. It gives movement speed, it gives damage, it's nice, it's cute. It even looks cool, like purple, it's a cool color. This just has to be my all-time favorite item in Taliyah. Now we got this thing called Luden's Companion. I'm not sure why it shares the same name as Luden's Tempest, because it is just simply not the same item. It doesn't have magic pen, it doesn't speed you up when you hit people. It's just not the same. The item was straight doo-doo at the start of the season, but they buffed it a couple of times, so now it's buildable. But yeah, anyways, I'll talk more about builds later on in the video, but first, let me tell you how you should play Taliyah. To know how to play Taliyah, you have to know what she does. Her kit is pretty straightforward, she throws a lot of rocks. Her passive is that whenever she's near terrain, she goes on this rock and then she's like faster. Her Q, 5 rocks, and then it leaves behind worked ground. If you press Q on the worked ground, it's like big rock, which also slows and it costs less mana and it does a lot of damage. It's called a boulder. It also refunds half of the cooldown. Very good spell, that one. Her W, another rock that comes out of the ground and it pushes people. Her E, a lot of small rocks that she lays on the ground. If people dash towards it or get pushed in it, then they get stunned as well and like a bit more damage. Her ult, big wall, you can ride it as well. I say big wall, but it's a small wall at the start, but eventually it becomes big. And yeah, that's basically everything to her kit. Just a bunch of rocks. Yeah, pretty cool. I like it. It's like tough. Taliyah's early is pretty weak. She has very little damage on her spells, but she also has very little cooldowns, especially on her Q. So you will be spamming your Q most of the game. At the start you'll be tickling enemy team, but around level 9, when your Q is maxed out and you have one item, you'll actually deal some damage. At level 13, you spike the hardest. You have your E maxed out now, your Q. You should be around 2 or maybe even 3 items when you get fed. After this, however, you start getting weaker compared to other mages, because when you put points in your W, you don't get extra damage. It only takes off the cooldown and a bit of mana costs, which is basically nothing already. But when you compare it to like Syndra or Orianna or any other mage, basically, they all get bonus damage. So compared to them, you don't really get a lot stronger after level 13. But that's fine, because you're still a beast in team fights. It's not like you're useless late game. You spike the hardest at level 13, remember that. So when you hit level 13, group up with your team and go team fight and win the game. Yes. Taliyah is best paired with something that engages like Rel or Leona or Nautilus that just goes in, CC someone for you and you can like combo wombo. Obviously, with Taliyah's E stunning people that dash in it, she is a counter to champions like Kalista, Wukong, Rakan, basically almost every bruiser like Riven, Jax. All in teamfights though, in isolation she will lose most of these 1v1s, not against Kalista, but let's say you're up against Akali, you will lose on side lane, because yeah, sure you can drop your E down, but she will still kill you. But in teamfights it's pretty hard for Akali to play since there are 4 other people also attacking her. And that leads me to the main point about how to play Taliyah, and what you really need to understand is to play together with your team. Exactly as I said in my last guide, Taliyah alone, weak. Taliyah together with team, strong. This doesn't mean you just brainlessly group with your team all the time, because you still need to farm. If you're jungle, you still need to clear. But you really have to understand that Taliyah is a teamfight champion. Even when you're down like 2 items, you can still make yourself useful in teamfights with just pressing E really. Taliyah is weak into champions that like to be around the map and assassinate people. aka Botlane. Kha'Zix also pretty annoying to play against. Katarina, she doesn't dash, like she blinks around the thing. She's also not great against champions that are really fast, like Singed. Like Singed will just go in a team fight, run with 1,000,000 movement speed. If there's no hard CC, he will just flip someone and he's out of there, and there's nothing you can do. He creates chaos. Taliyah doesn't like chaos. Taliyah likes simple front to back. So yeah, there are some counters to Taliyah, but as long as you have hard CC in your team and like you group up, you can deal with it. So Taliyah is a pretty strong champion most of the time. Next up, I'll be talking about some of the combos on Taliyah. She's not very complicated. Her only real combo is EW or WE, but there are some mechanics that you need to know, so let me tell you about it. Your boulder is the key to hitting your combo. I said this in my last guide as well, but this is just the way of playing Taliyah. Taliyah's W cast time is pretty long, and most of the time enemies can just dodge it pretty easily. Your boulder, however, slows for 3 whole seconds. So hitting this thing makes it easy for you to catch up with them, like get in range and then just hit your combo. The AoE hitbox of the boulder is actually quite big as well, so if the enemy is standing near a minion, you can actually Q the minion and then it will hit the champion and also slow the champ. You want to abuse this spell a lot, so look for angles to throw this on the enemy, yes. A good thing to know is that your boulder actually stuns Rift Herald if enemy team places it down. So if they don't defend it, you can just perma CC the Herald and it doesn't even charge. Another mechanic that I use quite often is Q flash. It's like to take them by surprise, but you can stand on the workaround, cast your Q first and then flash, and then your Q will go from where you flash, obviously. Also, you can throw rocks in your Zhonya's, so if you press Q, then Zhonya's, your Q will keep casting, like the normal Q. W first or E first, it depends on the situation. If you're fighting someone with dashes, use your E first. WE is a faster combo, so let's say you're on the timer and you need to follow up on an engage, use your W first. You can also use your W first if you just want to take them by surprise or if you just want to be fast with it. If you're fighting someone close up, use your E first as well, because they will make funny dodging patterns, and yeah, it makes it easier for you to hit your W because your E also slows them. Next up, the holy question of why I never level my ult before I actually use it. The reason is because you can actually abuse it to escape. Someone attacks you, you suddenly get ganked, like oh no, where do you go? Just level your ult and ult away. Boom, that easy. Basically when you level your ult, it doesn't count the last seconds of fighting, because normally you get like a 3-second timer on your ult whenever you get damaged, but if you freshly level it, it resets the combat, so to say, and you can just ult away if you're fast enough. The last combo is your ult E. If you're ulting and you see you're about to hit someone with your ult, you can jump off a bit earlier and then press your E. This way your ult will knock them into your E and you can use your W for someone else or on them even if you want. It's a good combo to know. It's not that hard to pull off, like you just need to know when to jump off. One last thing, don't drink a potion while you're riding your ult, because if you do, you get stuck in your own wall and it feels like a bug. I don't know if it's a bug, it looks like a bug, but yeah, that's just the way it is. So don't drink potions while you're riding your ult. Also don't place a ward because you will jump off as well. Now, as for itemization on Taliyah, since the start of the season, I've been testing out many builds, and I've come to the conclusion that every build is viable.
Even Rylai's?
Yes, even Rylai's.
No, you said Rylai's was bad.
The thing is, Depending on what you build, your playstyle will change. If you build tankier, you can play more aggressively and upfront. If you build more movement speed, you're faster so you can position yourself better, maybe get some picks, maybe escape certain situations. If you build full ability haste, you can spam spells like crazy, just have your E up every 3 seconds. Every build has their own perks and their downsides. So it's hard to just be like, yeah, building this is wrong, building this is correct. No, it doesn't work like that. As long as you make sure that your playstyle brings out the best of your build, you're doing the right thing. Now obviously, there are times where one build has more value than the other. For example, I would never build Rylai's against champions with a lot of dashes because slows don't really work that much against dashes. But let's say you're facing Nasus, Trundle, I don't know, these champions that just run at you and don't really do anything else, then Rylai's gains more value. With Mythics being gone, I feel like you have a lot more freedom and flexibility to build whatever you like. You don't even have to always finish an item, you can also just build components and that's fine as well. But yeah, just go with the flow. If you feel like building a certain item is correct in a certain game, just build it. And if it turns out to be bad and you don't like it, then you don't like it, then you learn something new, that's fine. But yeah, just use your own brain and think for yourself. Let's take this game as an example. I press tab, I see I have an Ezreal jungle for some reason, don't ask me why. I have Karma top, only frontline we have is Camille, but that's not really a frontline champ. Then I look at enemy team and they have a Vi and Annie, which is pretty good engaged. So I decided to go for a more tanky build this game, aka Rod of Ages. I think Rod of Ages is a good tanky item, it gives you a lot of HP. It doesn't really make you tanky, but the extra HP does help you survive a lot of situations that you wouldn't survive normally. Of course, when you build Rod of Ages, you don't get ability haste. Also, you don't get a lot of AP, like the AP comes with the stacks, which is after 10 minutes, it's fully stacked. So you will be a lot weaker early game, but that's why I said like, it's hard to just say, yeah, this build is the best, this build is the weakest, when it has to fit your playstyle as well. If you build Rod of Ages, you're gonna have to play a lot slower, you don't have the same burst that you will have with Ludens, and you have to know your damages with each build as well. Now, if you're looking for one best build, like I said, I find it hard to say one build is the best, but the build that I find most balanced and that has damage, ability haste, movement speed, everything you need, the build is Magic Pen Boots, Ludens, Cosmic, Deathcap, and then you can go like Crypt Bloom or Liandry's or Zhonya's or whatever you need, right? But yeah, that build kinda has everything. But don't be afraid to switch it up. If you feel like you need a shield because enemy team has a bunch of assassins, you can go for Saris instead of Ludens, or if you need Zhonya's second, you can do that as well, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or none. Like, it's items are items, it doesn't make you a better player. Just build the item and move on. Stop asking me what you should build. If you want to build one item, build the item. Stop asking me. Like, I don't decide for you, okay? Stop asking me, please. Stop asking me what to build. I just click a random item and I build it. Now for the rest of the video, I'll be splitting it up in 5 sections, talking about mid lane, jungle, top, support, ADC. I do believe she's viable in every role, but she is played a bit differently as well. I'll be talking about my runes, my playstyle, the matchups, and yeah, I'll just be talking about how I play the champ. Starting off with mid lane, because I'm a mid lane main. Shout out to all my mid lane mains out there. We are the superior race, role. Mid is Taliyah's best role. Your passive allows you to move around the map pretty fast, so if you happen to win your lane, try to look for roams, play with your jungler, dive people, try to be everywhere on the map. I will not talk about every matchup, but instead I'll split them up in 3 groups. There's long range, medium, and melee matchups. Long range matchups like Xerath and Vel'Koz are really annoying. These guys will constantly throw spells at you from Narnia and you can't really do anything back. Being stuck in lane against these guys is pure candy, so what I like to do is pushing the wave in. Once you have the wave pushed in, they're forced to use spells on the minions instead of you. Unless they just want to miss CS, that's also a possibility. But it's still good to push the wave in. Once the wave is pushed in, you can look to roam or maybe make a play with your jungler. I don't know, depends on the game, right? Pushing in the wave isn't as easy as it sounds, since good players will contest you on the wave and you'll be running out of mana eventually, since you need to use a lot of spells. But it's still better than to just sit under tower and suffer every 5 seconds them throwing a skill shot at you. And you have to play this mini game, dodging everything for like 10 minutes straight. It's really boring, so in this matchup, whoever gets to push in wins lane. In higher elo, this is often decided by jungle and support as well. That's why these rules are insanely broken to me. Taking phase rush is very good against long range matchups that just have a lot of skill shots, because obviously the movement speed will help you dodge skill shots, get in a better position, maybe catch up to them. Taking cookies in your runes and building tier and ultimately Seraphs will also help you in this lane, since you want to get the push in. To get the push in, you have to use a lot of spells, so having mana, good. Then there's the medium range matchups. There are easy matchups like Corki and Vladimir here, who you slightly outrange, and harder matchups like Orianna and Hwei, who slightly outrange you. Especially Orianna is really hard. But yeah, the same logic applies here. Whoever gets the push in will win lane. But these champions tend to have a bit more mobility and trading power, rather than the long range matchups who just poke you from afar. Taking Summonary in these matchups will help you with trading and just surviving the lane a bit better. And then lastly, there's melee matchups. Matchups like Yasuo, Yone, and Sylas, they're not necessarily hard, but they can be dangerous. If you make a mistake, a misposition, or miss your W, it will most likely result into death. But just don't make the mistake and you should be fine. Yes. You need to care for them setting up a freeze on you and forcing you to walk up. So don't just brainlessly attack the minions. Try to make it push into you. Unless you want to roam. If you want to roam, you have to hard push in the wave. But you need to care, because if they get a freeze on you and you have to walk up, they will have the mobility to get on you. And if you miss your W, which is your only like self-defense ability, you will die, because you have to walk like ages to your tower. Taliyah outskills basically any melee mid laner, so taking First Strike is a good rune. It's a slow scaling rune, it's good late game, you can just chill in lane, farm gold of them, and once you get to 2 or 3 items you should be way more valuable than them, and then you can just win the game. Now they have nerfed First Strike a lot of times, so I don't like it as much anymore. Taking Phase Rush is also fine, or Summonary, or Conqueror, or to be honest it doesn't even matter what you take, just play like a human being. Now if you know me, I haven't mentioned one particular rune page right now, which is Electrocute. I run this page in basically any matchup. Yeah, but people say it's bad.
Okay, there's a European
lane?
challenger OTP
Yeah.
named Odysseus, and he plays it like a madman.
Oh, really?
He's the highest rated Taliyah player.
Whoa. Okay.
But it's a very high skill cat way of playing the
Yeah.
champion, and like a lot of people get baited in, and I just disagree with that way of playing
Yeah.
Taliyah.
Yeah.
He bait that Odysseus guy. He baits a lot of people in to play Electrocute Ignite, play super aggressive.
I mean, they do have a point. Taliyah is indeed a more slow scaling champion. But then again, I've been playing Taliyah before her rework, and if you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. I like Electrocute because it gives you the most damage in fights, and I just like to fight. I like to fight early on, mid game, even when my champion isn't spiked yet. This also gives you access to Ingenious Hunter. It works on a lot of items that you build as Taliyah. As for my secondary runes, I like running Presence of Mind. It fits really well with my playstyle to not go out of mana. If I'm feeling really confident, I take Ignite as well, which of course creates more kill pressure in lane. Now this can backfire really hard, as having no TP will make your lane harder, so I do recommend just taking TP, as it's simply the best summoner for mid lane. Then there's Ghost as well, which feels really nice in teamfights, but once again, laning without TP will make your lane a lot harder, so I recommend only going Ghost in matchups that feel easy for you. As for jungle, you kinda just want to full clear over and over again. That's the standard. Now if there's free ganks available, of course you can look for ganks to get an extra lead, but in general you kinda just want to farm. Taliyah has one of the fastest clears in the game, so as long as nothing weird happens, your lead should come naturally. I used to believe that setting up worked ground makes your clear faster, but then I tried it in practice too and it doesn't really change anything. There are videos on YouTube that show like the most optimized jungle clear on Taliyah, but to me it feels really inconsistent, so I just recommend being normal. In general you want to play for dragons, but obviously it depends per game if you can actually do dragons or not. It depends on your bot lane, mid lane and the team overall. But dragon is a really good win con this season. Then there's grubs as well, which Taliyah actually does really fast, but don't int for them. I often see junglers int for grubs and it's just not worth it. They're nice to have if they're free, so if they're free to take them, but don't int for them. On red side there's this spot you can stand to take one over the wall. The first grub actually has more value than the others since it gives more XP, so taking one grub is good as well, then you can just dip, it's also fine. As for taking dragons, I only recommend taking dragons after you have your lost chapter, otherwise it takes really long to do without help. Normally you want to gank lanes that have some sort of setup, like Nautilus or Renekton, Galio, anything goes really as long as it has CC. As for the smites you take, I like blue smite and red smite. Once again, doesn't really matter what you play against, it's more on the mood. If I feel like being fast around the map, Blue Smite is obviously better, but Red Smite helps a bit more with combat. But yeah, it's not like, oh, there is a Rengar, now you go Blue Smite. No, it doesn't work like that. Just take whatever you feel like taking. As for runes, I like to go Dark Harvest. It's an all-time classic rune page on jungle. First Strike and Phase Rush are also viable, but you'll have a bit less damage and it's like more scaly type. Once again, depends on your playstyle. There are some hard matchups like Bel'Veth, Rengar, Kha'Zix, and in general assassins that can kill you easily. You want to avoid them in jungle, so try to keep track of them and don't fight them, not one-on-one at least. When you play Taliyah jungle, you want to have engage on support, or the game kind of becomes unplayable with nobody in front of you. But if someone asks you like, yo, what do you want as support? Which never happens, but if they ask, just say something like Nautilus, Rel. Because if they pick something like Lulu, Soraka, Janna, and then you're Taliyah and jungle, like where's the front line gonna be? Maybe mid lane, and top lane is kind of on an island, so you can't really contest dragons. So yeah, in general, just full clear, gank whenever you can gank, just don't overforce it and don't waste too much time. And yeah, just be a good jungler, win the game. Broken roll. Next up we got top lane. I actually believe that Taliyah top is her second best role, but some of the matchups are really hard and you kinda ruin your team comp by picking Taliyah top, but I actually believe this is her second best role because solo XP. In jungle you don't get as much XP, and in bot lane you share XP. So then there's mid lane with solo XP and top lane. But mid lane is a clown fiesta, so you get the most XP in top lane, which is really nice, and XP is really good on Taliyah. The hard part about top lane is some of the matchups. You will be facing champions like Fiora, Aurelia, Jax, and if you make a mistake, like missing your W when they jump on you, you're kinda dead. So yeah, you need to care with that. When facing bruisers, you want to let the wave push into you. The ideal wave state is right outside of your turret, so they can't really dive you, but they can't kill you either. So that's like the sweet spot for Taliyah. As for runes, First Strike is good, Phase Rush is good. If you're me, you can go Electro as well. But yeah, in general, you want to look to skill up, and then eventually group with your team and then carry the game. Yes. I do believe Taliyah ADC is viable, but it's kinda tricky because you need the right setup. I think you need to be strong-sided. If you play weak side Taliyah bot, you're just screwed. You need a CC engage support as always, because if you get a Lulu, how is a Lulu gonna help you? Nami is the only enchanter support that is viable with Taliyah. The other enchanters are kinda doo-doo. With the right setup in support and jungle, you can dive enemy bot lane perma, so it can be really strong, but if you're losing lane, it kind of sucks, and then you're also sharing XP, which also sucks, but it can work, like it really can work. When playing Taliyah bot, I like to go Dark Harvest since double the people, double the stacks. A lot of times bot lane is just a clown fiesta with jungle and everybody grouping there. And last, but also least, Taliyah support. Remember at the start of the video where I showed RedTFox going 16 deaths in 20 minutes? That's not a bad thing, I do the same. But the difference is, I have good deaths. When you play Taliyah support, don't be afraid to sacrifice yourself for the greater cause. Die over and over and over and over again. As long as you trade kills, then it's like worth if your ADC gets a kill. Or you can just play normal and just don't die. That's also fine, I guess. But yeah, as a support, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can just vibe around, run around the map, play with your team. Support role is a joke. It's so overpowered. The item is overpowered. It doesn't really matter what you build. Me personally, when I play support, I just build random items and whatever looks cool, I'll just buy it. I buy cheap items. Like you can buy Imperial Mandate on Taliyah support. I think it's fine. Rylai's is fine. If you're feeling rich, you can get a Cosmic Drive as well. I recommend stacking some ability haste though, because as a support, your job is to apply utility, not damage, so I don't recommend going Shadow Flame like RedTFox did. Just stack ability haste and help your team. Be a good support, yeah, you got this. And yeah, that's it. To be honest, I think builds and runes overall don't matter as much as they did last season. It won't make you a better player, so just focus on your gameplay, get your combos right, think about the game, use your brain, win the game, don't flame, suck pain, hit Dane, free. But yeah, that's it for the guide, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't. Check out my Taliyah videos if you want to see some real solid Taliyah gameplay. You can also check out my other channel, Odysseus the Gamer, Odysseus. So if you want to see full gameplays, check out that channel. Maybe you can learn something. And yeah, stay hydrated, stay sexy, stay fresh, spread some love around, man. For real.